I bought this Golf for £150. At the time I bought it, it was abandoned, heading for the scrapyard. I took it upon myself to save this car, and over the winter months I slowly got this car roadworthy again, not without its problems along the way. Everything was going well until I got the car on the road. Then came the dreaded engine warning lights. Just said and stop the engine. I continued to use the car for a couple more weeks until eventually I had to address it, and guess what? I found some issues. I found some big bits. Not good if that was loose in the engine. Clearly you can see the car is back on the road. We'll rewind and start at the beginning. Now let's work our way through things we need to check, starting with the easiest jobs. Removing the engine cover and air filter. This allows me to get to the first thing I want to check when it comes to dealing with this oil pressure issue, and that's the PCV system, which regulates the pressure from the engine and recycles the gases from the crankcase up and back into the top of the engine. First off, I remove the top pipe and see how much debris is stuck in there. Over time you get oil and vapor buildup, which turns into like a gunky mousse. Then I disconnect the pipe that goes from the engine block, and as you can see already it's looking pretty bad. Next I start removing the valve by taking out the 5 screws that hold it to the rocker cover. This revealed more moussiness, which is a sign it could be causing the problem, especially if the pipe is blocked that goes from the top, that comes up from the crankcase. That's the valve on the top there, and I'll show you how to test that in a minute. Disgusting. So to check the one-way valve, you simply blow into it one way. It should hold a good amount of pressure. By pulling air back through the other way, it releases. You can hear the valve working internally. Even though the valve is in good condition, I still need to give it a good clean out. Now I focus my attention on the inlet to the top of the engine, making sure all the airways are clear. I remove the orange gasket to check the condition of that, and making sure it's going to provide a good seal. After some more cleaning, I get the gasket back in, refit the valve assembly. After pulling a large amount of gunk out of the bottom pipe, I think it's a good idea to get that one removed completely. In order to release the clip on the lower end without disassembling anything is quite tricky, but my attention was soon diverted onto what happens next. Oops. After leaning a little too hard on one of the coolant hoses, I snapped off one of the plastic barbs, which resulted in the fountain you just saw, so that's something else I'll need to fix. In the meantime though, I still need to get this pipe off, so I persist until I do. I have ordered a replacement PCV pipe. The one I removed is all gummed up, and this coolant's junction piece I need to replace. As you saw, I snapped this small barb off the top. For now, I'll push the car down into this gap and wait for the parts to arrive. I finally have some parts. I have this junction piece for the coolant system. That's the bit that broke off. Then I have this new breather pipe, which I simply just need to fit. I've got some more coolant. As you saw, I had a catastrophic loss of fluid, and this is now empty. I'm not sure how much I've lost, but I would imagine it has bled out quite a bit. Starting by removing the coolant hose clip and continuing to make a mess. I quickly get this junction piece removed. Good, bad. It is just as quick to get the new part refitted. Once I get the factory clips back on, which I personally don't like, I get the new PCV pipe installed. Before I fully install this pipe, I'm going to check how much gunk is in the outlet from the engine block. It's not too bad. Once we have the all clear and the lower part is clipped in, I can attach it at the top, along with the top pipe. I removed the barb I snapped off from that small coolant hose, so that can be refitted. Right, I'm going to use a hose clamp. To test the car, I want to get the MAF sensor plugged back in, so that means getting the engine cover and air filter back on. I need to replace all of the coolant that I've lost, wait for it to bleed a little bit. I'm going to start the engine up, and then we'll try and get this coolant bled through. Let's see if you can hear the exhaust note change. Or an exhaust that's been disconnected halfway along. It doesn't actually sound too bad. Right, let's check on that water. That noise could be our problem. I don't know if you can hear that metallic noise, but that's new. It may be something to do with the oil pressure issue. The balance shaft bolts are notorious for snapping on these apparently. Let's get the heaters going. There is no more air coming out the system. I'm going to call that done for now. While I was waiting for it to warm up, I've turned the car around. That looks safe enough, doesn't it? I have some exhaust clamps. I will repair this next. Very pinnacle of filming this is. With the car safely in the air, I can get the centre sleeve back in place. Then I use some non-factory exhaust clamps in replacement of those completely rusted ones that snapped on me. That's one. These types of clamps seem to last a lot longer. There we go, bracket number 2's on. Which are basically bands of steel. It should be back to normal now. On a side note, following on from Haggerty Hill Climb, we had a really good day out with the Peugaru. It was a stunning early summer's day at Shelsley, Walsh, and the photographers there at the event managed to get some great photos. So much so, I've ordered some posters. These will be for sale on our clothing brand website, blendline.co.uk. If you fancy a poster of the Peugaru, I have a limited amount. I'd best show you first. I really liked this shot of the car almost at the top of the hill approaching the second S. You may be able to see on the camera it has like an anti-glare finish. It would look great in a frame or just a standard poster. Size is A1, that should give you some reference of size. If you fancied one with a personalised message, links in the description below. Go check them out. Anyway, back to the episode. Since I replaced the pipe on the PCV valve, the car's been going fine. I've driven it for a couple of weeks and done a couple of long trips in that time with no oil pressure warning lights. Could have fixed the issue. However, I do want to eliminate a couple more things, one of which includes the oil pickup pipe. I need to get to that by taking off the sump. As this car had been sat for a long time, well over a year, before I took it on as a project to get back on the road, the oil in the sump could easily have congealed a bit, and the pickup pipes on these engines are prone for getting blocked. So the only way to check is to get the sump off. First off, I need to get the under tray. I can leave that up there for now. Oh no, I've lost one already. Before I start undoing anything else, I will drain the oil while it's still nice and hot. There's no need to let it completely drain. As I'm taking the sump off, I've got the majority out and I'll just put the plug back in. I have tried to remove the bolt on the bracket for the charge pipe as it is attached to the side of the sump. However, someone has previously rounded it off, so I'll probably take this pipe off with the sump. Then I can get to it to repair the bolt. However, I have noticed there is a slight crack, I think, on this pipe. So whether we're getting a slight boost leak or not, maybe. Now I will remove the oil return line. That's for the turbo. Should only be a bit of oil in there. I can now take all of the sump bolts out. There are two more up in there at a slight angle towards the gearbox, which I can't currently get off. I've tried with these little flexi 1/4 inch screwdrivers, but I need a bit more power to loosen them off. I need to find an angle joint for the 1/4 inch, and then I can get the last two out. Not forgetting the 16mm at the bottom, plus one on the side. And there's one more at the back. There was another T30 up there holding the intercooler pipe on, so I've taken that out. In the end, I did manage to get the screws out that hold this intercooler pipe on. That means I don't have to take it off with the sump. I've slackened off the oil filter, ready to replace that. All that's left to do is to get those two tricky bolts out, which hopefully I can go and grab the tool for now. I've borrowed this short extension that has a diamond end. It may just be enough to get an angle on those two bolts. That's one. Two. Okay, that's the sump. It's covered in see the pickup, got like grit on it. It's a bit worrying, to be honest. Quite a bit of debris in there. But I think I'll give it a good inspection. I'll take it off and make sure it's fully clean. I might replace it, but it probably won't need to. But first, let's get it off. That's good. Right over the line. That's excellent. Right, I'll be back to clear up that mess. See all the bits on there? That looks like metal to me. Sump doesn't look amazing either. Yeah, it's not magnetic, so I'd say whatever is in there is aluminium. Yeah, I reckon this is not helping at all. You see the area in the middle is black, that's clear, so I've just wiped clear. The area around it, which is silvery grey, is blocking most of the mesh. This could cause a lack of oil pressure. I will try and get one of these tomorrow. Before we put the sump back on, we will check the balance shaft as well to make sure there are no issues with that either. It's getting late, so see you tomorrow. I just had another look. I found some big bits in there. Can't tell what they are. Not good if that was loose in the engine. Right. Let's see what we can see under here. This monstrosity are the balance shafts. They look okay. After doing some Googling, it's not uncommon for these bolts to shear. Either way, on this engine, it looks all good. I can't see any excessive wear. While I'm under here, I'll have a look for potential damage elsewhere. I can't really see much in the way of debris on the engine at all. I'm hoping that it's all in the sump. For those unaware, the balance shafts are purely there to stop engine vibration. There are weights on these pulleys that counteract each other. I don't fully know how it works, but that's basically the gist. It's there to make the engine a lot smoother. I have given the pickup pipe a good clean. I've got the airline in there, cleaned it all out. I think we're clear of all debris, so I don't need to replace this piece. That's ready to go back on. Let's take a closer look at the sump. I'll try and get most of the oil drained out. It does look like we have some bits. Can you hear that? Not good. Before I fully clean the inside of the sump, I will get all of the old sealant off. Bit of E10. My favourite toothbrush. Before you fill the comments, I'm going to put some eye protection on. While I let the sump dry off a bit, I will refit the pickup pipe. Get a bit of oil on the O-ring. Before the sump goes back on, I will refit the plastic cover for the balance shaft. I've gone round all of the sump bolts. I've done them up. I'll put the gearbox bolts back in. I did put some sealant on the return pipe before I bolted it back to the sump. The other one's back here somewhere. I'll get that installed. I've done up the return pipe fully. I can plug the oil level sensor back in. I'll attach the mounts for this front pipe and the pipe on the side. Before I attach this pipe, I will investigate the crack on the underside here. It must be a casting mark, as there is no line on the inside, so I think we're good there. I can take the oil filter off now. Let that drain out a bit. Look at the state of that. It's a wonder the engine kept going. Put some fresh oil in. I'm hoping this is the right filter. Looks good to me. Got a new O-ring as well. I will leave the sump dry overnight. Hopefully tomorrow I can get some oil in it. There won't be any leaks, and we will have eliminated the oil pickup as being the problem for the oil pressure. 24 hours later, the sealant on the sump should have dried by now. Just get my hand up in there. Seems good to me. Sump plugs in. Plumbed up everything last night, so I'll fill it with oil. Once I run the engine back up, I will investigate the rattling noise on startup. It could be the high pressure fuel pump. It should also be easy enough to check the cam follower. All seems well. To be honest, I'm guessing on the oil level because the car's sloping downhill slightly. Put a bit more in and then I'll get it on the level. I will take the engine cover back off and we'll try and get eyes on this cam follower. Hopefully I haven't already found the cam follower. That was in the pickup pipe. We'll see how we get on. Do you like the Peugaru mug? Same as the poster. On these cars you have an in-tank pump which lifts the fuel up to this high pressure pump. There's a cam follower just in there. The cam drives on the follower, so we need to check the wear on the follower. As it's pressurized, I need to release the pressure first. There you go. You can see that. And I'll remove the plugs. I now need to get that banjo off, and there's a normal rubber pipe at the back. I've slackened off the 3 bolts, that should come off now. There we go. The rubber hose is still attached. I'm hoping I can get away with this. Right, let's check the condition of this follower. So you can see it's worn, but it's still intact. I'm happy with that. I'll check everything else is free. I have also checked the condition of the cam lobe, which I can't focus on right now. It's in there anyway. That looks good too. I'm glad I checked it just for peace of mind. It does mean, however, we don't know the source of the material that was left in the sump. That remains a mystery. Okay. I will get the car back on the road. I'll test it over the next couple of days. Hopefully I've put a bit more life back into the engine. You saw the state of the sump, the oil filter, oil for that matter. I have no idea when it was last done. We've cleaned the pickup pipe out. I've checked all the common issues. Even though the cam follower seems okay, it doesn't mean that the pump isn't on its way out. I'll be wary of that. I'm hoping we're good for now. I hope you enjoyed this DIY episode of the GTI Resurrection. I promise we'll do something fun with it soon. Thanks for watching and I'll see you next time.